Everyone at Westbrook Academy knew who Ethan Caldwell was. The arrogant son of a billionaire, he strutted through the marble hallways as if he owned them. And maybe, in some way, he did. But no one expected that the quiet student he tormented every day would one day be the reason his family's empire came crumbling down. It was a crisp autumn morning when the new semester began. Students in designer coats spilled from polished black cars. Among them, Ethan Caldwell's sleek limousine stopped directly in front of the gates. The driver rushed to open the door, as Ethan stepped out with his signature smirk, his wrist glittering with a watch worth more than a teacher's annual salary. And then, trailing behind everyone else, came Daniel Reyes.
A scholarship student. Shy. Reserved.
His backpack was frayed, his shoes scuffed, his notebooks secondhand. He kept his head down, hoping not to be noticed. But in a school like Westbrook, difference was a spotlight. And Ethan noticed everything. From the very first day, Ethan targeted Daniel. He mocked his clothes in the cafeteria. He tripped him in the hallway, laughing as Daniel's books scattered across the polished floor. "Careful," Ethan sneered once, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Don't scratch the marble. My father paid for it." Teachers looked away. Some even forced a smile, reluctant to discipline the son of the man who funded their salaries.
Daniel enturetet all in silence.
He never fought back, never raised his voice. To Ethan, that quietness was weakness. But to Daniel, it was survival. The bullying escalated. One afternoon, during a debate competition, Ethan humiliated Daniel in front of the entire school. As Daniel nervously read his notes, Ethan leaned back in his chair, grinning. When it was his turn, he shredded Daniel's arguments with cruel sarcasm, earning roaring laughter from the crowd. Daniel stood frozen, his voice trembling, while Ethan soaked in the applause like a celebrity. And yet, what no one knew was that Daniel's silence was not ignorance. It was strategy. Because Daniel knew something about Ethan's family. Something even Ethan himself didn't know. Months later, the Academy announced a special event, a charity gala. Parents, board members, and even local politicians gathered inside the grand ballroom.
Christe Chandeliers Sparklet.
Waiters moved silently with trays of champagne. Ethan's father, the billionaire Richard Caldwell, stood at the center, smiling for cameras, shaking hands with dignitaries. Daniel had been chosen, reluctantly, to present a scholarship speech that night. When his name was announced, Ethan scoffed loud enough for the table to hear.
"What's he going to do?" he whispered.
"Thank us for letting him breathe the same air?" The table erupted in muffled laughter. But when Daniel took the podium, his hands didn't shake. His voice was steady. And the words he spoke cut deeper than anyone expected. He began by thanking the donors, the academy, and his teachers. But then, his tone shifted. He spoke about injustice. He spoke about how privilege could blind people to the struggles of others. And then, he revealed documents. The ballroom fell silent. Projected on the large screen behind him were files, court records, financial audits, leaked reports.
Dani.
And it was because of Richard Caldwell. The very man now smiling nervously in the front row. Daniel's mother had passed away shortly after. But not before saving everything. And Daniel had all of it. The room erupted in chaos. Journalists surged forward. Cameras flashed. Politicians whispered to one another. Ethan's smug grin vanished, his face pale as his father shouted for security. But it was too late. The evidence was already public. Within weeks, the Caldwell empire was under federal investigation. Assets frozen. Partnerships dissolved. Richard Caldwell was indicted. The once untouchable billionaire, reduced to a defendant in court. And Ethan? The boy who had laughed the loudest, returned to Westbrook Academy a shadow of himself. The limousine was gone. The watch sold. His friends scattered like dust. He passed Daniel in the hallway once. But this time, it was Ethan who kept his head down. Daniel didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He simply walked past. Because justice had already been served. And so, the boy they mocked for being silent, became the voice that exposed the truth. The lesson? Never mistake quietness for weakness. Because sometimes, silence is not surrender. Sometimes, it is the calm before justice strikes.